everybody. So today for my Throwback Thursday, this is a segment that I like to do regarding books that have somehow gotten lost in the limelight a little bit. And this segment is going to focus more so on how these books have been converted into film adaptations and whether or not I liked them, and invite any of your feedback regarding what you thought about the book to film adaptations as well. I'm going to focus more on middle reader books for this video. So to start things off, I'm going to go with a very popular one. This one is Harry Potter. Like I said in a previous video, Harry Potter was the first book I actually read and finished. So it holds a very special place in my heart. I anticipated the movie coming out, which is one of the reasons why I actually read it. I'm sorry to all of you diehard Harry Potter fans who loved the book before the movie, but this was the case with me. I was able to finish the book in time for the movie, and I really liked the movie. There wasn't as much in the movie as in the book, but I mean, it's a film. You kind of have to pick and choose which pieces to put in there. However, I did like the first movie. I liked the second one too. As the movie sort of progressed, I kind of lost interest because I think the books were getting bigger and bigger, and they can only just put so much in the movie. And they did kind of get a little darker, but I guess the story kind of got darker too. I liked the book and the movie, so we'll do book yes, movie yes. The second one I want to focus on is one called Tuck Everlasting. I don't know if many of you remembered that book, or reading it in middle school or in elementary school even, but I just love this story. It was such a sweet story. The book had a very original storyline and plot. I've always been a sucker for eternal youth / time travel-y type novels, so I was very pleased with the protagonist, the supporting characters, the villain, all of them. And I actually read this book before the movie came out. I think the movie came out like 5 to 10 years afterwards. I'd have to check on that one. But the movie portrayed the main characters a little older than those in the books, probably to better develop the romance between the two main characters. And it showed the value of life in a very beautiful way through each character, and the creators of the movie made wise choices, I think, in showing how the protagonist grew up throughout the story. I'm also a fan of tragic romances, and since the film tugged at my heartstrings in this regard as well, I think probably because I am a little older, or I was a little older watching the movie than I was when I was reading the book in middle school. I think I gave the movie a better review, actually. But I think it kind of depends on which age is being exposed to the book and film. For me, I liked the film better, so. The next book I want to focus on is a classic called Holes. The characters in it were phenomenal. The plot was phenomenal. Rarely do we get stories that have powerful plots with equally powerful characters to drive the story, and this one definitely falls in that category. It has great examples of diversity, mystery, and character development, and especially in Stanley's growth throughout the story. He's definitely not the same person he is at the end versus the beginning. It has been and probably will remain my favorite childhood book. While some of the language in it seems a little maybe cliche today just because of how much the book has dated, it is an original story. It is a classic. I've never found another mystery quite like the one in this story, so I loved the book and I loved the movie, not just because I'm an Even Stevens fan and I like Shia LaBeouf, but I admired how well it was casted, filmed, and acted. The adapters chose the right scenes to include from the book in the movie, and they filmed them in the right ways. The cinematography was excellent, so I say 5 stars for both the book and the movie. The next one I want to focus on is Aquamarine. I don't know how many of you remember this book as a kid, but it was a very short book. When I was younger, I wanted to be a mermaid. I'm sure I wasn't the only girl who wanted to be a mermaid. I'm sure that it appealed to a lot of kids my age at that time. I mean, when girls are young, who doesn't dream they either become a mermaid or find one in their swimming pool? And this book definitely appealed to that dream in every girl when it came out. The author chose to tell the shorter story in a very well character-driven way that highlighted the humanity in all creatures, both human and mythical, which I think was really neat, but they did it in such a simple way for kids to understand. And as far as the movie goes, although a cheesy adaptation, I think it was updated to appeal to the teenage girl demographic that was more modern at the time of its release. And I like how Aquamarine had legs on land versus to ride around in a wheelchair like in the book. The movie seemed to take on a more pop culture feel that I think was typical in the early 2000s when it was filmed. If I was in the mood for a teen chick flick, I'd watch it, but I still think it pales in comparison to the book. The next one on my list is Ella Enchanted. This is one that I think at least every child has been exposed to in my generation in elementary school or middle school, either from the teacher reading it to the class or just as part of the curriculum. I I really liked the book. I liked the language. It was very straightforward. She said this and this and this, and then when I was done, this happened, and then it was just kind of a get to the point kind of thing, and it was done really well, I think, in that respect. Especially for kids, you want to keep their interest peaked. It also had a lot of magical elements that pulled from fairy tales, but it did so in an original way that kind of had kind of a satire, which I think was pretty smart on the author's part. However, we get this really spazzy movie out of it, and I just think that they did a big discredit to the book. I think they were trying to portray the humor in the wrong way. They just kind of made it just really corny. It could have been better. Final one I want to talk about is The Secret Garden, and this is definitely a classic. It is, I watched the movie before I read the book. Guilty as charged. I really loved how the movie was filmed. It was very simple. It projected the time period in a very classy way that wasn't over the top. The costumes were good. The actors were good. The whole story and how it was revealed to the protagonist was done in a very classy way. I love that era. I love the mystery that was surrounding it. It was kind of a ghost story, but not. So it was kind of neat how they incorporated the past into the present and were able to reflect elements of the past throughout the story, if that makes sense. However, when I read the book, I read it, I think, in my 10th grade honors English class, just to read as an extra book to check off on our list. I didn't really like how the characters were portrayed in that one. It seemed like the protagonist was made a lot more sour throughout it instead of kind of developing more. I saw more development in the movie. In the movie, I did not like Colin, the cousin, because he was just very sour like her and everything, and I liked Dickon a lot better as, the kind of male friend. However, in the book, I think those were flip-flopped. I didn't get very much from Dickon in the book. It was really sad. He's one of my favorite supporting characters at least from movies. I don't know, the book just didn't seem to do it very well. I don't know if this is just because I watched the movie first, and so I have a bias towards it, but I tended to like the movie more than the book. So it may have been flip-flopped if I read the book first, but that's the way it is. If you have any comments or questions, or just want to leave any feedback or do a suggestion for maybe another video that includes certain other movies, feel free to comment below. Be sure to subscribe if you like my channel, and hope to see you again soon.